Yo, yo, what up? It's your boy Soulo. Now we're back here again with another one. And this is going to be about understanding how life is by just observing nature. And that's, you got to look everything like every space and location has a spirit. A space is just your spirit. What you allow in your space, aka what you allow in your spirit. So the best way to define what a spirit is just space, like space. Space is everywhere. Shout out to Dolo the Pilot Man. You've been saying this for for the past couple years since he's been talking about this spirituality and astrology, and everything is just space and location. And there's different types of forms and spirits inside these spaces, even if you can't see it. The air is fluid. The air is always traveling, and that's what inhabits space. Something's got to take shape and form in a spot that hasn't been taken yet. And this is an accumulation of something growing and expanding. And it just depends what type of space there is. There's things existing that you can't see that's in front of you, but you can't see it with your physical eyes. It's in a different frequency and vibration. So you gotta look at it as like you can't see the energy inside of you, like how it's forming and everything. Like, is a spiritual thing that people need to understand. Is like everything's like a vortex. Everything is like the spirit is creating an intelligence, a mind, something to push out, a frequency, and that frequency is a timeline, is an event, is an idea, is a spark of something that that's trying to be aware and consciously aware. So we gotta look at it like that, because you gotta see it as like when you're inside of your parents, when you see a baby grow inside of a female, of a mother, then you see something expanding. You see something from small and expanding, and you see things like that and everywhere in life, in existence. So you gotta look at it like everything is expanding. So the world used to be small, like, and then it expanded, from many years of, evolutions and, things dying, rebirth, dying, rebirth, dying, rebirth, and it's just expanding the world. So this is how we expand our world. And everything is growing. And people like to get lost in words like aging and stuff like that, but there's no such thing as aging. It's just your spirit is always taking shape and form and expanding, and is always adding on top of a layer. So when this physical vessel can't hold up no more, then it's still gonna keep on adding on, and it's gonna look like it's deteriorating. But it's not really aging. It's just it keeps getting awarenesses, and this is what we're doing with the mind. The spirit developed the mind and intelligence, and it's always projecting. It's always expanding its awareness, even if you're not even thinking. Even though if you're not trying to think, because you're always thinking. You can't stop thinking. It's impossible. That's just the spirit expanding. It's always moving. So the best solution is to understand this mechanism, and you don't have to. You could now you can understand, like, okay, this is what the spirit is doing. I have to like direct my thoughts into certain things that valuable and what makes sense, instead of stressing so much about reality and how strict reality is, and all those thoughts and feelings that aren't necessary. So you know how to deflect thoughts before they become feelings, or develop thoughts that can develop fruitful feelings. And that's just having imagination. People don't have imaginations, or really logical about how they go about things in life, but I'm not gonna get into that. People have their own different ways of doing shit, but being fruitful and imaginative is what keeps your mind fruitful, just being in your creativity. Like I said, people made this world too logical. It doesn't have to be this way because it's spiritual at the same time. We made this reality from the spiritual, and then y'all made it dense by being too logical and creating all these circumstances that's making things even more dense. So I'm starting to think like back in the native, when the natives used to have their resources and lands, and I can't even tap into those type of awarenesses like how it was kind of before, but not quite. Like it was just more fluid back in the days. Like I feel like reality was way more fluid and not this dense. How it's not like the big spirits who are spiritual, they couldn't understand how fluid it is. But I think back then was even more fluid. Like it was just like it was all these tribes and stuff, and they haven't been conquered yet, so things was more like in sync, I would say, and tapped in, before shit got fucked up, obvious. But and things just got more dense when these colonizers implemented religion and all these sciences, which made a lot of sheeps and made these type of spirits so programmed into physical existence, like just externalizing just mental programs that makes shit even harder and physical, and it just makes everything more dense, like vibrationally wise and physical, like literally. So like I said, it's like spirits need to learn how to wake up and get out of their own density, their fleshy density type shit, make everything fluid again. Make America fluid. But